Imagine you're about to take your test for the New York State fire alarm license and your heart is pounding. You're thinking to yourself, did I study enough? Man, I hope I passed this exam. What if I told you there was a shortcut that all the pros use in order for them to take the New York State exam without all the overwhelming information, so that way they could pass the exam the first time they take it. So by the end of this video, you're gonna have a 3-step action plan for you to take the New York State fire alarm license and pass it the first time. I'm gonna show you how you can minimize your time, build up your confidence, and walk out a fire alarm license contract. So make sure you stay with me, because I'm gonna show you how you can pass the New York State fire alarm license the first time and not have to take it 15 times like I did. So let's get straight into it. I've seen so many times when students enroll in the New York State fire alarm license, they come in feeling that they're well prepared, but they are so burnt out trying to memorize all of the fire codes, all of the electrical codes, every single code that they could possibly try to remember. That is what they are trying to cram into their brain module, and that's what's causing the overwhelm, frustration, and more confusion when you're trying to take the test. I understand that you're trying to improve your life, you're working a little bit of overtime at your job, and now you're trying to study for the New York State fire alarm license so that way you can start your business and actually change your life. But there's always balance in your life that you need to actually learn how to manage and maintain. So you don't want to overwhelm yourself trying to cram everything inside the brain module. Learn how to manage what you need to know, figure out where you're weak at, and that's how you build the strength on the areas that you're weak on. So even putting all the hustle to the side, because you're trying to build a life for yourself, but you want to make sure you study smartly, so that way when you take the test, you do not fail it. You don't want to waste time, you don't want to waste your money, and you don't want to waste unnecessary energy, especially if you're not going to pass the exam the first time you take it. My name is Anthony Richardson, and I'm the president of Secured Securities Corp. We are a licensed fire alarm and security company where we've done over $5 million in installs over here in New York City, working with government, private, and also the commercial sectors. So I'm here to give you the game as I know it and break down my experience so I can give it to you in a more concise framework, so that way you could actually learn a little bit faster when it comes to being a fire alarm technician. Now, the first point, you want to target the core module. A few years ago, I was in a training class with this guy named Mike. Now, Mike was very detailed oriented. He actually tried to write down every note, memorize every detail when it came to the code books. Even though the state exam is a closed book, he was trying to cram all of that information into his brain. Mike then got himself burnt out because he was trying to memorize so much information that is kind of virtually impossible for one human being to do. So you have to learn how to memorize or study and understand things in chunks. Study in small increments of times, 30 to 45 minutes at a time, and don't overwhelm yourself. If you perform the actions on a daily basis, you will actually retain the information. It will be better or easier for you to understand it when it comes to you taking the test. Now, when you read these questions, you have a better idea of how to answer it, because you have a wealth of not memorized but understandable information that you've been retaining over the days, years, months, and weeks that you've been training your brain. Now, the second point that I want to make is learning beats memorization. Let me explain. So there was another student, her name was Sarah, and Sarah couldn't grasp the concept when it came to Ohm's law. No fault to Sarah, she was never been in the field using a meter, screwdriver, anything like that, or seen with a resistor, or understand what these types of inline devices do to the circuitry when it comes to voltage in Ohm's law. So the instructor, very good instructor, he was able to convey a story in which Sarah was able to visualize herself in that story, so that way she can see how Ohm's law actually worked. So the point that I'm trying to make is, sometimes when you're trying to understand some things, if it's formulated within a story form somewhere that you could actually relate to it, it will definitely help you understand the information a lot more better. So try not to memorize what you actually learn, and try to understand what you learn. And if you don't understand it, then ask for an interpretation, maybe a different way of saying what actually you're trying to learn, so that way you could actually grasp the concept. Now, the third point I want to make is you have to know the rules of the game. Now, unfortunately for Tom, he came into the test so unprepared. He didn't know how long the test was going to take. He didn't know how many questions there was going to be on the test. He was unprepared, not bringing pencils, pens. He was so unprepared, he wasted the first 10 minutes of time that he could have used, that valuable time he could be using to actually answer the questions that he know right off the top of his brain. So the results for Tom equal to more stress and absolutely no time to finish his test. The New York State fire alarm license is a multiple choice test, closed book, in about 2.5 hours they give you to take the test. Some of the topics they cover is basic electricity, fire alarm standards and codes, control devices, and alarm transmissions. You also must have a valid New York State ID or a valid license, and also you should have passed the prerequisite, the New York State 81-hour course, and have the certificates for all 5 modules. These are the prerequisites before you could even take the New York State exam. The state exam fee, from the last time when I took it, it was about $15. I'm not sure, so don't quote me. So make sure you verify what the state exam fees are, so that way you can pay the fees and be eligible to take the test. So here's what I want you to do when you go and take your New York State exam. I want you to arrive 30 minutes early. I want you to bring 2 number 2 pencils and bring your confidence on top of your confidence, so that way you can pass the exam the first time. Now here's a pro tip. You can check Reddit for past test takers to see what they evaluated on a test. With a little research, you'll find out that the state has a few variations when it comes to the test. Depending on the variant, they may be particularly heavy in one particular chapter or one particular module. It may be Berg heavy, it may be CCTV heavy, it may be fire heavy, it may be OSHA heavy. Depending on what variation of tests that you have to take, and depending on what area you're weak in, that is the area you need to focus on more, study a little bit more. 60% on the areas you're weak in, 40% on the areas you're strong in. Keep a nice good balance, 30 to 45 minutes a day, and you'll have no problems taking the test. So if you're looking for additional help, you can download my practice exam for the New York State license. It has over 150 questions. That's about 30 to 45 questions per module, and there's 5 modules inside the book. So I'll leave a link in the description so you can download that and study so you can pass your New York State exam. Now, here's the truth. When you're taking a test for the New York State exam, you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. They are looking for the person who is most prepared. So you have to prepare yourself. Preparation comes through daily study, 30 to 45 minute chunks, so that way you could actually retain the information. And as you start to learn on a daily basis, more information start to resolve in the brain module. You start to formulate different questions, and now you can start understanding what you're actually learning. So that way it's easier for you to answer these questions when you go inside the New York State exam. So don't forget to download the top 100 codes you need to know to prepare for your NICEP 1 and 2. This is your study packet that you could do for 30 or 45 minutes a day. You could also download the New York State test questions, so that way you could prepare for your New York State fire alarm license. I'll leave a link in the description so that way you can download either one or both, so that way you can study and pass with no problem. So let me know in the comments, out of these 5 modules, which ones you feel is the most difficult. Is it installation? Is it control? Is it fire technology? Let me know in the comments, and I'll drop a free test packet for that particular module just for you. If you found any value in this video, share this with someone you think it could help. Let's pass this New York State exam together and then move to the next step and build our fire alarm business. I know you can do it. Fire alarm expert out. So I want to thank you for watching. In the next video, we're going to break down 5 real questions for the New York State exam to help you understand how to answer these questions and what study materials you need to actually study for when you're looking at these questions. So stay tuned with me, turn that bell notification on, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.